So in this video, we're going to look at my top 5 things that I wish I'd have known before starting our DIY camper van conversion.
This is Claire, she's from Sheffield, and this is me, Andy, I'm from Tarn. We are husband and wife and come from a place many call God's country, Barnsley. The great thing about living in Barnsley is there's always somewhere different to be. This is where this beast of a man comes in. This is our self-converted camper van, St Christopher of Atlantis. Talk about beasts, this is our wolf Pablo. He comes with us as our security. Having this van has made me the master of my universe. I can go wherever Claire says I can go when she says I can. If anyone can better that, then let me know in the comments section. Anyway, here's some stuff we did.
And number 1 is the budget. So it's easy to get some idea about how much things are going to cost. You can Google things, you can buy books, just like I did. But the reality is that it's probably going to cost you more than what you think. And the reason for this is that you're not going to have all of the tools that you need to complete the job unless you are a regular DIYer. And if you're a regular DIYer, then you probably don't need to look at this video. When I started doing this van, I've done some work around the house, but I'd never done a camper van before, and it was overwhelming. However, there's a lot of resources online. I used those, and I got some idea of how much it was going to cost, but it did cost more. And one of the reasons for that is that you can go to various companies online, and they'll sell you a kit to insulate your van or to carpet your van, etc, etc, etc. But these kits generally are calibrated for somebody that does it all the time. And yes, there is enough to finish a van, but if you make a mistake, you're going to have some problems, and you're going to have to order more. I ended up ordering more insulation. I managed with the carpeting, but we didn't carpet everything in the van. But I had to buy extra tools. When it came to the Chinese diesel heater, I had to buy extra parts to get that as good as what it possibly could be. So yes, what I'd say is if you're going to do a camper van conversion, then what you need to do is get a rough budget of what you think it's going to cost. Maybe add 20 to 30%. And if you come in under that, then happy days. But it may even go over. It just depends on what problems you'll have while you're doing the van conversion. So number 2 is the time. So when I was researching how long it's going to take, there was some estimates of 400 hours, which I thought was a little over the top, especially for this van. It's a short wheel base van. If you've got a large van, then maybe it is 400 hours and you put in a shower and things like that into it. But I couldn't quite compute how those 400 hours would go into doing a van. However, it's my head said, well, it's just like decorating a room. It's not. It's like building a premises, one room structure. You've got to strip everything out and start from the bare bones, and just little fiddly things can take a long time. Taking the bulkhead out of this van gave me a problem because I got one bolt that just would not come out. It sheared. I ended up trying loads of different things to get it out. It didn't work. I ended up having to borrow an angle grinder from my dad and taking it off there. That took a few days. All sorts of little things like that will add up and add to your time. And then some of the big things like the furniture in the van. I drove the van down to a car park of somewhere that I could buy some supplies, and I built it pretty much in a day. So the big things don't seem to take as long. Number 3, condensation. I've read about condensation. I ummed and ahed over to whether put a roof vent into the van. Decided not to. We went on our first outing. We had a great time, lovely and cozy, nice and warm, comfortable. However, the windows were wet on the inside. Because it was February when we did our first trip, we didn't open the window because we were worried about whether it was going to be warm enough. But it does need ventilation. So we do have the windbreakers on the wind deflectors on the windows. So we will be using some cracked open windows, a little bit more than what we did, to see how that works. But if I were doing it again, I would plan to put a roof vent in the van just to make things a little bit easier. The advice out there is real. So number 4, so for the electrics, I decided to keep things simple. I looked at putting electrics into the van. I watched videos, I read up on it. I'm getting a bit older now. I know what my capabilities are, and it's just something that I didn't really want to get into. So I looked for other options, and we came across the power banks that are gaining popularity, and we settled for an EcoFlow with solar panels, and it's brilliant. We love it. It's really good. You can charge it up, you can run anything really that you want from it, but it does have limitations. And one of the limitations that we came up against was with our Chinese diesel heater. My plan was to run it from the car adapter 12-volt socket. Now, it does specifically say not to run it from the socket, but I thought I could get away with it. It gave me 2 problems. One is that I've also got a 12-volt refrigerator, and it's more efficient to run from the 12-volt car adapter than also another way that I could use it is with the AC adapter and using the inverter on the EcoFlow, but the inverter actually drains the battery quite considerably. So I wanted to use a 12-volt, which meant that I would have to either use the Chinese diesel heater or the fridge. So that gave me a problem. But not only that, when the heater starts with the glow plug, it needs a big draw of amps that, even though I got a heavy duty car adapter, it couldn't quite handle. And I had a problem with the Chinese diesel heater. I'm going to make a separate video on that because it gave me all sorts of issues that I think is worth addressing. But it wouldn't run that. So long story short, I ended up getting a cheap car battery that I can keep charged from the EcoFlow, or if we use electric hookup. And because when the diesel heater gets going, it doesn't use that much electricity, it's been fine for us, and it does work. It does also mean that everything's a little bit separate, so if the EcoFlow breaks or there's no charge in it, we can still stay warm. So if we're going to do winter trips, really, I've probably come up with a better solution for that. Doing it the traditional way, where you can charge whilst you're driving, it does have some big advantages if you can work out the electrics, but I think I don't always have that doubt in my mind that maybe I've not done it properly. So I'm happy with what we've done, but I just wish I'd have known about it earlier on so I could budget again a bit better for it. And number 5 is a positive. Doing the van, I didn't really appreciate how comfortable it would be. I've spoken to people that have got rock and roll beds, and I've read online about people having rock and roll beds and them not being very comfortable. But we decided to go for a fixed bed in our van, and it's worked out really, really well. It is a full-size queen, and because of that, we've got plenty of width for us to both sleep with the dog, and also it's 15 centimeter memory foam, and it's just enough for us. It's just perfect. We had a great night's sleep first night that we did it. We were very comfortable. The insulation, I did go a little bit crazy with the insulation. I used a system from an online website called Kiravans, and we've got the closed foam insulation with some loft insulation on top, and it is like the most toastiest sleeping bag that exists. So if you're worried about doing this camper van conversion and whether it's going to be comfortable for people that's going to be using it, especially your other half, then we can absolutely confirm that they are so comfortable and better than some Airbnbs that we've stayed in. It's a really, really comfortable, warm place to be. So they're my top 5 things that I wish I would have known before starting my campervan conversion. If you've got any extras that you want to chip in, please put them down in the comments. If you like this video, it's going to help me out just to keep giving you more of this content. And also, if you want to subscribe, because we've got plenty of stuff coming up, then please do. Until next time, I'll see you then.